The court is now in session. The People's Court, Stephen Sindoni versus the Federal Bureau of Investigation. The defendants in this case are Robert Mueller, Federal Bureau Investigator Director, and James Damaris Jr., the Assistant Director. Stephen Sindoni, target of surveillance, is seeking $1 billion in damages for the loss of his life and liberty under the United States Constitution. We will now hear Stephen Sindoni's opening argument. In my opening statement, I, Stephen Sindoni, intend to prove that the FBI is guilty of covering up the events surrounding September 11th. In September of 1998, in Montreal, Canada, I was confronted by two men that were posing as Israeli Mossad agents. On the following day, I informed the United States Customs officers at the United States-Canadian border. And not long after providing the U.S. Customs agents with the information, I became a target of surveillance. There were now strange cars parked outside of my home, and strangers were following me to work. In the following year, in the summer of 1999, the next time I tried crossing the United States-Canadian border, I was questioned for 3 hours by Canadian Customs officers and then denied entry into the country. Then on December 29th of 2001, all the major television news agencies broadcasted an FBI issued alert for 5 illegal immigrants that the FBI posted on its FBI.gov website. It was reported that law enforcement officials said that the 5 men might have entered the country from Canada. After studying the photos of the 5 men, I recognized 2 of the men in the photo. On the following day, I picked up the telephone and contacted the FBI office in Pennsylvania. After sharing my story with the FBI office in Pennsylvania, they told me I was mistaken. Shortly thereafter, the FBI began to spin their own story to cover up the 9/11 inside job. It is my intention to prove that this was a deliberate act of terrorism by a high-level covert secret group in the United States government working jointly with the Israeli Mossad. The cover-up included the President of the United States, George W. Bush. I made several attempts to get the truth out. But as a result of my patriotism, I became a hunted man. I was now under 24-hour-a-day surveillance. My computer had been hacked into, and files and photos of the 5 illegal immigrants was somehow removed from my computer. To make matters worse, my wife, my family, and all of my friends didn't believe me. I became an outcast. No one wanted to listen. It was at that point I knew that the only way to fight back was to become an investigative reporter and expose them. I had to beat them at their own game. Thanks to the internet, a communication tool that terrifies organizations like the FBI, I have been able to create videos that help establish my case against the United States government. I will now present photographs and video evidence to prove that the United States government is guilty of surveillance against me, Stephen Sindoni. Exhibit A is a photo of the 5 illegal immigrants that the FBI put up on their website, FBI.gov, on December 29, 2001. Exhibit B is the photo of Iftikhar Ali, age 21, who confronted me in Montreal, Canada, in September of 1998. Exhibit C is a photo of Abid Noraz Ali, approximately age 24, who also confronted me in September of 1998 in Montreal, Canada, who pointed a gun in my direction. Exhibit B and Exhibit C are the 2 men who illegally stopped me in Montreal, Canada at 2 o'clock in the morning and questioned me and then searched my car before allowing me to leave. Exhibit D are photos of people who have been following me. Exhibit E reveals helicopter surveillance. My final exhibit, Exhibit F, reveals photos of the Assistant Director, James Damaris Jr. of the FBI New York office in plain clothes, caught by me in this photo Monday, February 22nd, 2010 at 2:52 p.m. in front of Madison Square Garden on Broadway in New York City. I want to make my opening statement in this case against the FBI perfectly clear. The violations of the United States Constitution and Bill of Rights that my family and friends have been subjected to are amongst the absolute worst in this country's history. I now emphatically state that I have been under constant surveillance beginning on September of 1998 until the present day by the FBI and other covert secret groups. I have had my telephone wiretapped, my computer crashed, subjected to painful electronic microwaves, and have been in several automobile near-death accidents. Anytime I went for a job and filled out an employment application for the open position for which I was qualified, the application mysteriously disappeared from the company's database with no explanation. It became obvious for me to see that someone wanted to take me out of the system. I became powerless to stop what was happening to me and my family. After a number of attempts on my life and unable to convince my wife or anyone in the justice system, I decided to go into seclusion. As a direct consequence of this constant harassment and daily non-stop surveillance, I have been unable to find work, which has made it impossible for me to pay child support. In this case against the FBI, I intend to break the existing paradigm. There will be individuals in high positions in government who don't want this story to be told. These individuals will do their best to seek out their flunkies to challenge my story, which will be rather difficult for the FBI when I have many websites, youtube.com/Sindoni Productions, and also stopmarconi.webs.com that show the surveillance and the harassment by the FBI. This case against the FBI is going to be a war. Make no bones about it. But in every war there are winners and losers. I am confident that at the conclusion of my case against the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the jury will find me victorious and award me the target of 11 years of constant surveillance by the FBI, the amount of $1 billion. The lawyers for the defense now approach the judge's bench. The judge now hammers the gavel into the desk. Judge now speaking. I've been informed by the defendant's counsel that due to matters of national security, there will be a substantial settlement amount offered to Mr. Sindoni to end this case. I'd like to thank everyone for listening to the People's Court, Stephen Sindoni versus the FBI.